CNBC studio lights are built to find weakness. They polish sweat into narrative, turn a blink into an alibi, amplify half seconds into headlines. I learned that the first time they wired a microphone to my collarbone. Tonight, the camera loved the other guest, the celebrity short with cufflinks that looked like props from a traveling magic show and the smug ease of a man who's never been inside the engine room. DataStream's model is a black box, he told America. And inside that box, garbage. The Chiron obliged. Breaking. Short report alleges DataStream inflates results. From my living room over Lake Union, Seattle looked like powdered glass. My phone pulsed in disciplined intervals. Raj, CTO final validation pack synced. Serena, CLO defamation risk triaged. Keep powder dry. Jules, EA 1158 DocuSign train greenlit. Pre-staged. No alerts on Slack. I muted the TV. Let the sound drop out. Opinion is theater. Capital is math. Theater is loud. Math wins late and permanently. At 11:57 p.m., I signed a buyback with pre-cleared months ago. Dull. Legal. Unremarkable. Not a plot twist. Capital allocation. Excess cash from exclusivity deals the best and brightest insisted meant we hid something. We weren't hiding. We were laying rebuy. 11:58. The lockup extensions went out. 6 to 2 engineers and product leads with restricted shares that could have become a supply in 60 days. We'd done the one-on-ones in glass rooms. No leaks. No pressure. Only trust. Cash is reassurance. I told them. But stability is sleep. We'll give you both. You'd be amazed how quiet a room gets when a CEO speaks in sentences, not slogans. 11:59. Eyes closed. Marcus. He likes money that moves so fast it forgets what it bought. He likes desks that smell like other people's adrenaline. He likes our father's friends at Chin and Associates because inheritance tastes better when it's called insight. He didn't like that I walked out of the mahogany room and built something their language couldn't flatten. Software that lives inside hospital networks and payment rails and airline schedulers, shifting probabilities like breath. We are most valuable where we are least visible. To him, invisibility reads as fraud. To builders, it reads as infrastructure. Midnight nudged the city. DocuSign chimed completion. I opened my eyes. Okay, I told no one. It wasn't a prayer. It was a checksum. Morning arrived with a clatter of cheap certainty. 6:02 a.m., the boutique hedge fund in Connecticut drops a deep dive that confuses a rolling validation window with a calendar. 6:18, sell-side blasts, concerns on cohort attrition. 6:23, the Takedown newsletter posts a headline written by a lawyer who hates weekends. The stock bent at the open, like a knee before a jump. First hours aren't markets. They're weather. On 9, our war room woke up. Whiteboards. Glass. Too much light. Raj corrected the sell-side's figure with 3 dry lines of math. Serena was already on with their GC. Daniel, CFO, updated the buyback schedule. Tranches, rails, no heroics, no wasted bullets. Jules played concerto on triage, declining a family office that tried to name-drop my father into my calendar. I'll check Miss Sterling's parental availability, she said, dry enough to blister paint. Today's for boredom, I told the room. No adrenaline. Just process. Raj saluted with a marker. We trained for boring. 9:43 a.m. The shot returned to TV, quoting a report that quoted a note that quoted a rumor that called itself research. We've modeled a 70% downside, he said in the tone surgeons use 5 minutes before calling a family. Television loved him. Television didn't know he was already inside the squeeze. Lockups aren't public for hours. They don't have to be. Supply is physics, not PR. The buyback wasn't a pose. It was a hand at a drunk man's back, guiding him from the curb he didn't know he stood on. He'd call it manipulation. He'd be wrong. We were buying a company that belongs, first, always, to the people who build it. 10:12, a long-only fund asked for a meeting whenever, which means, we're fine, we're shopping. 10:58, a VC-turned-pundit tweeted that AI infra needs sunlight, code for I want your price lower without paying the clip. Tranche 1 complete, Daniel said. VWAP plus 4 BPS. Within limits, I said. Then lunch. At 11:27 I sat in the quiet room facing the water, a single window in a wall the color of a decision. Founders get famous for big choices. Companies live on small ones. Paint matters because it tells people whether you expect their breathing to count. My phone face down. A single buzz at 11:58. Marcus, you're making a mistake. Me, you'll need to namespace. Marcus, I made a market. You made a box. Markets beat boxes. 12:01 p.m. The letter hit the wire. Not a thread. Not a graphic. A PDF. 3 megafunds with sentences like girders. We independently replicated key claims across rolling windows. Production lift observed. Risk-adjusted outcomes materially improved. I had it memorized. It sounded like a violin in a glass cathedral. On the screen, volume surged like the tide, reminding you who controls the moon. By 12:21, we had taken back the morning and 1 additional % for humility. Sell side pulled and corrected. The newsletter author tweeted about healthy discourse, which is what you call a retreat you intend to monetize in a podcast. 12:28. CNBC invited me. Live. No, I said. You can have something better. At 2:03 p.m., audit trails left our hands for a vault with a door, not a metaphor. 2 third-party verifications went out the back channel to customers and 2 patient journalists with graduate degrees and boredom tolerance. The public doesn't notice quiet proofs. The market does. By 3:30, short interest trembled. Not capitulation, recognition. The kind of movement a seismologist circles with a blue pencil. 4:11, Serena leaned in, finger on a page no one will ever frame. Flow of funds, compiled by a firm that lives in footnotes. Lines like veins, bold to hairline. Through LLCs, through a fund of funds, into the short vehicle, crossing a tidy desk label, Chin and Associates, block trading, Marcus S. Can we name it? I asked. We can name what we can prove. You think I'm aiming at my brother. You're aiming at the market, she said. Family is the draft. Live TV eats time and outputs narrative. They sit you in a chair that tries to own your spine. A young PA with cold hands pins a MIC, mouths a countdown with birds in her fingers. Off camera, the anchor is kind. On camera, he is history's intern. Joining us, DataStream CEO, Emma Sterling. Your response to garbage in the black box. Garbage is what impatient people call math. A small cough in my A. I continued. We've provided independent verification for years. Today we made 2 public. We published replication-sufficient audit trails. Secrecy is a choice. Complexity is a cost. We pay the cost. And the buyback. Manipulation. If critics refund our customers, we'll revisit capital allocation. Until then, we'll do our jobs. Inside pre-announced rails, inside the law. Split screen. The short smiled with courtroom charity. This is MBA word salad. 70% downside stands. I read your model, I said. You assumed an 18-month static validation. Ours is 36 and rolling. You assumed uniform client traffic. We don't live in textbooks. You assumed. I stopped. You assumed a lot. Rumors. The anchor cut in. Voice carrying instructions from a producer's producer. Coordination around the short. Any truth? We followed wires, I said. Flows through intermediaries into the short vehicle. The originating entities are associated with Chin and Associates. Specifically, their block trading desk. A blink. A laugh from the other window, half a beat late. Absurd, he said. Conspiracy theories from a cornered CEO. Facts under light, I said. We provided names, dates, references to authorities. The anchor's smile tightened. We should disclose. Chin and Associates is a major advertising partner. In that case, I said, my father's cadence moving furniture in my throat. You'll want to recuse them from coverage. He bled a smile. We'll be right back. The machine spat us out. The breaking news, Stinger returned with a different key. SEC confirms preliminary inquiry into potential short-selling coordination around DataStream. No allegations of wrongdoing. The short disappeared from the split like a scene partner written out between acts. Jules, I murmured, mic still hot. Here. Tell Serena the letter did its job. Backstage, a junior producer stopped me. That was cool, she said, meaning cold. I let her keep the word she needed. My phone buzzed. Dad, what did you do? Me, my job. Dad, you humiliated your brother. Me. He outsourced his reputation. The market called it back. Come to my office, he wrote. Send a calendar invite, I replied. Jules met my eyes. You good. I'm correct. We didn't celebrate. We executed tranche 2. We watched Borrow tighten and calls get calm. We sent coffee to Dublin, tea to Bangalore, a note that said we see you. At 5:09 I stepped into evening that didn't care. A bus sighed. A dog hauled at ambition on nylon. Emma. Marcus by the curb, tie loosened like a sentence halfway erased. Handsome in the way magazines keep trying to convince women competence looks. You could have called me. To say what? I said. You went to the SEC. I went to the truth. They were already there. You named me on television. I named a desk. You named yourself when you laundered a grudge through 6 shells and called it independence. He stepped closer, the way men are trained to confuse distance with honesty. You think you're better. I think I build things that catch failures before they become news. You build narratives that turn other people's work into your weather. A black car door opened. Our father emerged like a stage direction. Get in, he said, as if commands were inherited. No, I said as if oxygen were. I have a company to run. You've made enemies. I made a product. The enemies are self-assembling. Come to the office. We'll sort it out. I asked. You funded his habit with other people's money. He rented a megaphone. The SEC will sort the nouns. The market is already correcting the adjectives. He looked at me with the arithmetic of a man losing jurisdiction. You're not family when you talk like this, he said. Maybe by accident. Marcus looked away first. When you're ready to talk like builders, I said. My door is exactly where it was when you were pretending not to see it. News goes out. Returns heavier. The inquiry confirmed in places that fact-check for sport. No allegations. Not the point. The stock didn't explode. It behaved. Up enough to matter. A lesson about supply that might make it into a freshman econ lecture taught by someone who's never bought back a share. At noon, 3 engineers who signed last night brought coffee to my door for no reason at all. Thanks, the youngest said, for not flinching. I flinched in private, I said. In public, we run the playbook. The anchor called. Back on tonight. No, I said. Call when you want to discuss businesses instead of broadcasts. Fair, he said, logging cordiality like a loyalty point. Serena again. Courtesy copy from Chin and Associates. We categorically deny. We welcome scrutiny. Market integrity is paramount. Family matters are private. Tell them our family is builders and customers. Everyone else is press. A beat. Also, she added, hot mic off air at CNBC. The short. Marcus, you said her lockups would blow out the float. Why the hell didn't they? And another voice. She is the float, idiot. Silence. Not quiet. Consequence. Amplify, she asked. No. Physics will. I touched the glass. The city felt colder than the story about it. Jules knocked, stepped in without waiting. Board in 5. Margaret from Boston. On my way. Tiles. Faces that learn not to blink. Margaret, the former CEO with the gentleness of people who've survived rooms with too much carpet. Short agenda, she said. The market knows what it knows. We have a quarter to close. But for the minutes, this is how companies are built. Not on price lines. On choices. She paused. For posterity, who control the float. I let myself smile. We did, I said. The builders. The ones who signed. The ones who stayed. The ones who think boring is a moat. Boring is a moat, Raj said, already writing it on something. We covered customers, hiring, the part of R&D that needs less poetry and more timestamp logs. We didn't mention my father or his office, or how a last name becomes a leverage ratio. We didn't need to. The company made a shape around me larger than the room I grew up in. After, I went down 2 floors to the lab. People think servers hum, they don't. The hum is the humans. A young engineer grinned. CEO in the wild. Don't tell anyone, I said. It ruins the mystique. He laughed, then flinched at himself for laughing. We knew about lockups, he said. We didn't know. You're not supposed to know everything, I said. You own your piece. Trust me to own mine. Faith looks like doubt that agrees to wait. On the stairs up, I let myself laugh. Quiet, unmarketable. Not revenge. Not vindication. Alignment. The plane of the world shifted the way a table does when a coaster finally evens the leg you kept promising to fix. Grandpa, proud of you. No punctuation. Perfect grammar for a life that never needed it. 6:12 p.m., the day exhaled. Markets closed. Somewhere a spreadsheet learned shame. Somewhere else a newsletter drafted a mea non mea culpa. I walked home by the water. A ferry moved like a sentence missing its verb. In a lit window, a family ate dinner inside a memory. I didn't envy it. I did not. I let it be. On my couch, I wrote the email that had been building since midnight. To all staff subject, days like this team, noise is designed to shrink you. Don't. Our job is not to be loud, it's to be correct. Days like this are why we build infrastructure, so it behaves under pressure. We didn't win. We did our jobs. We extended lockups not to sculpt a price, but to own our destiny. We bought back shares because it was the right use of capital. We opened the right books to the right people. Sleep. Tomorrow we ship. Ascend. Stillness. Gravity remembered. A clip lit my screen. Last night's off-air murmur now 1,000 echoes. Marcus, you said her lockups would blow out the float. Why the hell didn't they? A whisper answered that didn't understand where the stage stops. She is the float, idiot. I didn't forward it. I let it become sediment in the river of a day, already turning to geology. He tried to short my IPO. He learned who controlled the float. He thought the market was an instrument. He forgot the builders conduct. And the music, when you really listen, doesn't sound like triumph. It sounds like a metronome buried in stone, counting the beats of work done correctly, quietly, for a very long time, finally heard.